All right, my brain's kind of scattering, but we'll see if we can get through this here. So my topic today is going to be sorry. All right, the word, the feeling, the thoughts, the actions of being sorry, and more or less asking when is being sorry not enough, right? When is apologizing not enough? Because there have been times, there have been people that I've been around that they do the right thing whenever they do something wrong. They recognize it, whether because someone else pointed it out or them being self-reflective enough that they're able to realize that they did something wrong and apologize for it. Right? That's a good first step. But when is that not enough? Right? And that sounds kind of harsh, maybe counterintuitive, but I've seen a good many times where I believe that it isn't enough. Because if this same person is constantly saying sorry, now there are some circumstances that it differs, right? Each circumstance you have to take as its own. You can't just fix them all the exact same way, right? But if someone who is fully capable and entirely cognizant of their actions, if they keep doing the same thing and apologizing, when do you draw the line, right? Such as lashing out or calling people names or, making fun of people or doing whatever, they realize that it's wrong, and do the right thing and pull that person aside and apologize, whether it be with themselves or in a group setting or whatever. But when does that just start faltering? Because at some point in time, I start thinking that it's not okay. I am a person that I don't believe in words, right? I don't trust like a person's words at face value. I've had way too many times in my life where someone apologizes to me for a wrongdoing and then they go and do the exact same thing again down the line, whether it be 2 days later or 2 months later or 2 years later, it ends up happening again. Now for each of those examples, I take them differently, right? Such as if it is 2 hours later, I'm going to be mad, being all like, why did you just lie to me? Right? Why did you even waste your breath and my time pulling me aside to apologize if you're just going to do it again? Right? If it's 2 days later, I tend to sit there and go, okay, is it going to be a reoccurring pattern? Is it just a slip up? And it also depends on how many times we've done this rigmarole, right? Such as if they are doing whatever they're doing, and I pull them aside and say, hey, this is an issue, they apologize, or they come and apologize to me, and I've already then talked to them saying, hey, this is a pattern that needs rectified, it needs fixed, it needs worked on. What can be done about it, whether it be just them or me and them working together to come up with a solution for it. But if we've already done that cycle several times, it's now just pandering, right? They're not actually looking to fix anything. They're not actually looking to better themselves or the situation. They just want me to shut up. And that's whenever I take issue. Now, going back, that's, if it's 2 hours later, 2 days later, if it's 2 months later, then again, like I look for patterns, right? So, like, if it's 2 months later, to me, that's a slip up. And I look at it kind of like the same way that I do, I'm going to say, people suffering through with addiction, right? To where if they slip up one time, you can't like demean them, right? You can't be like, oh, hey, look at you. Hey, look, there's my cat. You can't be like, hey, you fucked up. You're terrible. You're a bad person, because then they're probably just going to stop trying, right? They're just going to go, what's the point of trying? I fucked up and now everything has been undone. No, at that point, I sit there and I wait and I go, okay, is it going to happen again within that like a 1 week period, right? He slipped up once. Is it going to happen again? Typically, if it's been that long, that to me symbolizes that they're trying, right? So if it slips up once, slips up a second time, it'll be the third time. So the way I look at things is one time is coincidence. Two times, how do I word it to myself? First time's coincidence. Second time, no. It's like the first time is random, second time is coincidence, third time is a pattern, right? So I give them that third strike essentially, and then I go, okay, now it's a pattern. Now something needs to be done, right? So like first time they slip up, it's fine. The second time within that week, because there have been times where like I've seen people where they'll slip up twice in quick succession, and then if you don't make a big scene about it, they'll right themselves, right? And then they'll go right back to doing what they're supposed to be, and that's fine. But the third time, then that's whenever you go, hey, what's going on? Because, and even then, I'm still not going to be pointing at them going, hey, it's your fault, you fucked up, you did something wrong. I'm going to go, essentially, we're going to start over, right? To where I'm going to go, what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this a pattern? Why are we going through this system? Is there something that we can do? Is there something I can do? Is there something you can do? Do you need help? Or is it just like stressful situations that you're going through, such as like if someone's having a hard time at home, or maybe, yeah, like at home, like loss of a loved one, maybe finances aren't good, some sort of something's going on with the children and they're just stressed like that. Big things like that, to me, you kind of write them off, right? It's one of those, you let them go for a while and hope that they can get through it themselves, right? I mean, obviously, if they need support and you know them well enough, support them, right? Help them out, do what you can. But even then, you do have to figure out when enough is enough, right? Um, but that's a whole different topic. And that's like for 2 months, and then obviously if it's 2 years, you do the same thing that I do for like 2 months, right? It's just you gotta keep track of things, you gotta look at things. And that's kind of how I see these things. And I don't want to say it. I'm not a complete dickhead, or at least I try not to be. I try to err on the side of caution. I try to play devil's advocate. I try to assume the best in everybody, that they're not being an asshole just to be an asshole, that there's some underlying issue, right? Which is why I try to talk to them, work with them, see what I can do. But at the same time, whenever push comes to shove, obviously, like if you're in a work environment, right? Obviously I've been a blue collar worker, right? Like most people have. You have those assholes that like talking to them isn't a thing, right? So at that point, I just avoid them. I just essentially, whenever I say avoid them, it'll be one of those. It is just I only talk to them when necessary, when absolutely necessary, and the conversation is just about work. And then whenever that conversation is over, I go back to what I was doing. I go back to whatever I need to be doing, right? And most of the time, if I'm talking to them, it's because a boss is telling me, "Hey, go tell them this thing," and then if they get lippy, I'll be like, "You go talk to the boss. I'm not dealing with you." Um, that's how I do that. And for the big overarching question of like when is sorry not enough, right? For the most part, I just focus on action, right? Always watch for action. Always see what the person is doing, because if they are truly actually trying, you want to help them along, right? If you see they're trying, you don't want to get in the way of that because change is difficult. Whenever it comes to someone who, like, I've met multiple people who, like, they come from, I'm going to say, a rougher childhood, right? To where they need to be quick witted and hit hard, like, mentally. To where, like, you need to collect dirt on other people so that whenever someone flings, verbal mud at you, you can throw a bigger chunk of verbal mud to hurt them more, right? And then they carry that up into adulthood, and that's just kind of how they do everything. And they see that as joking, they see that as being jovial, and it's like, no. And it takes a long time for someone who was born and raised in that environment and might still be in that environment because if it was a family environment, they're more than likely not out of that environment, right? So it'll take a long time for them to fix that or course correct, especially if they're still dealing with that at home. So you just have to be lenient. You just have to pay attention, be like, are they trying? Because sometimes some people, like I said earlier, like you got to take it case by case. Because some people, it is you have to constantly remind them. Like they go and hit you with something like they're what they see as joking, and they like insult some sort of physical appearance, something that you have physically with you. You you just sometimes have to be like, that's not kosher. That's not all right. Stop that. And then some of them will go, oh shit, yes, I'm sorry, you're right, and then move on from there, right? And sometimes that is okay. And them saying sorry is less about being, how do I say it, showy or pandering to you, and it's more of a, oh shit, I'm sorry, I slipped back into a cycle that I was previously a part of, right? And that's something else. There's a lot of this is people in their cycles, right? Most people do not change unless they have to, unless they feel the need to. Um, and a lot of these things, a lot of these people being assholes, and the people that do the saying sorry a lot for the same things and not changing. It is just a part of routine. It is a part of who they are. It is part of how they are, right? And most of them don't even realize it. So, especially if someone is stressed out or not paying attention, they might just slip into it, not even thinking. Just with no thoughts whatsoever, they'll slip into it, do whatever, and then that them apologizing is going, "Oh shit, yes, I wasn't thinking. I'm sorry that I wasn't thinking. I need to be more attentive." Because whenever it comes to change in general for people as a person, it's more about changing your cycles, changing the things that you do like autonomously, automatically. Like it is less about like you can't it's not like a physical thing, right? It's just how you react to something and it's you have to constantly be reinforcing the new thing until it becomes habit. And that's why so many people struggle to change anything ever is because you have to habitually do it and correct yourself until it becomes your new habit. And then even then, as I was saying before, while you're working on this new habit, sometimes you'll slip up and sometimes you need to be corrected, right? Like you slip up and you start falling into an old cycle and someone or something has to come back by and go, "Hey, you were doing good. What's going on? Go back to the new cycle that you're doing," right? Obviously not worded that way, but essentially going, "What are you doing? You were doing great. How about we try again?" Right? That's obviously not the best wording. I'm thinking right now, trying to come up with better wording. Because and that's why I kind of how do I say it? I compare it to addiction. Obviously, it's not the same as addiction because addiction, most people end up with a craving that never goes away, right? Um, and that they're constantly battling with, right? This is just more or less being mindless or some outside force coming in to knock you back into an old cycle, um, into an old, into your old system, and then you just need to course correct to make sure that you're not going just defaulting to this old cycle and instead defaulting to your new cycle, right? Um, but and I think I've beat that horse pretty much to death. So, also, I just caught myself doing this. I know that this makes noise whenever I do this. I'm very sorry about it, but this is like, I don't even realize I'm doing it most of the time. Like, I see it right here in my vision, and then that makes me, like, as I'm talking, doing whatever, or like, if for some reason my hand bumps it, like, I'm reminded it's here. And then I feel the need to move it, to mess with it, to do something with it, because I don't like it being in my vision. It's kind of like whenever I do this, it's because like I feel the tip of my nose for some reason, and I just feel compelled to touch it or do something with it. Yes, I'm weird. I know, odd ass ticks that I have, but I apologize for this. Hopefully someday I'll be able to get a new one of these, so we won't have to deal with this. Also, so that my sound quality is better. Um, but yeah. So I think that's about it for this video. Um, I guess see ya.